your goal and stick fucking to it. You wishy-washy motherfuckers. I can't fucking stand you.
I wanted to make sure that out of the 24 hours of the day, that I don't waste one single hour. Those hours were too precious. And so there I just want to tell people, don't give me this thing, I have a difficult time with the time and I don't have time for this and I don't have that. You have time. You make the time.
And now, welcome to the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast, sponsored by FitnessInformant.com.
All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome inside the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast. I'm your host, FitnessInformant.com President Ryan Buckeye. Episode 9, I believe. I get these numbers mixed up, but it's good. We're making progress. We're making our way. We're coming out with a new episode every other week as promised. And tonight, this evening, today, whenever you decide to listen to this podcast, whether it's on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Store, YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, I mean, it's all over the platforms in which you get your podcast. Ryback Reeves, he's a former WWE Superstar, no longer with the WWE today, but he does own Feed Me More Nutrition. It is a supplement company, has a pre-workout, has a grass-fed protein powder, has an intra-workout, a fat burner, and a testosterone booster. We discussed that with Ryback Reeves here later in the show. I just want to let you guys know, like, some of you people who've been listening to the show understand and realize, like, I come from that world, from the pro wrestling world. I was a pro wrestler for 10 years, had a tryout with the World Wrestling Entertainment. I thought that was what I was meant to do and meant to be, and I really did. I thought that's where I would end up, and where I wouldn't be doing this podcast. We wouldn't have FitnessInformant.com. But I still get along with a lot of the guys there. I have friends up in the WWE. I watch Monday Night Raw. I watch SmackDown. I watched SummerSlam this past week, and I will continue to watch pro wrestling because it is the most entertaining sport, and it's athletic. It's tough. People can call it fake all they want, but I'm telling you, it is not easy, and I have come and played every sport possible, so the respect I have for these men and these women who do the sport of professional wrestling will never alter, and that's because, A, I was part of that world, and I'll always be part of that world, but B, until you experience or even go to a show or know what these people do, I mean, you don't understand the athleticism that they do. I mean, you just go back to last week's episode with hypertrophy coach Joe Bennett, and he talks about how he trains Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista was also a WWE wrestler, and he mentions, like, you go through the list of these superstars in the locker room, and you won't find many who haven't suffered like 5 to 7 injuries. One of my best friends who's with him now, Arya Davari, he's a cruiserweight. He's on 205 Live. The dude was on the independent scene with me for a long time. We traveled the roads together. We hung out. I mean, we did everything together. We'd lift. He'd stay at my house. I mean, we were good friends. And he literally suffered a neck injury that kept him out for 3 months, maybe 5 months, and he's trying to get his way back now. So it's like, it's not easy. Approach the interview with Ryback and any other wrestlers I ever have on the show with an open mind, even if you're not a wrestling fan, because it's an extremely difficult and exhaustive sport to be part of. Not just what you do in the ring, but the fact that these men and women are traveling, 265 days a year in rental cars for 6 hours. They're in hotel rooms. I mean, you don't get good sleep. You don't have the best diet in the world. Your body is taking bumps and bruises from hitting ropes and hitting the mat. I mean, it's a hard life, and that's why a lot of people can only do it for spurts of time. And Ryback suffered an injury, forced him to walk away from the WWE, gave him a chance to start Feed Me More Nutrition, in which we talk about. It's a really good interview. I like Ryback. Ryback was a guy, when I had my tryout with the WWE, who spent time speaking with me and talking with me about building size, because at that time, when I had my tryout back in 2013 it was, he was a bigger name on the scene at that point with WWE, and I was a good wrestler. I just wasn't big, but at 5'7.5", 5'8", like, I needed to get size down. I didn't have it, and he helped me out and gave me some advice, gave me some tips, and now, obviously I'm the biggest I've ever been in my entire life, but I have a different goal now, and that is educating all of you here on the podcast and at FitnessInformant.com, providing knowledge, providing insight, providing no bullshit way of thinking when it comes to sports nutrition and fitness. So I don't want to spend a ton of time, obviously defending the world of pro wrestling, but you guys know how I feel. And I think that a lot of people in the fitness world actually appreciate professional wrestling because these people are required to keep their bodies on point, look the part, and live the life that they live. Before Ryback, Shane Stacked is back on the podcast this week. We are a month away from the Mr. Olympia competition. We talk about some really good stories, including Bang Energy coming out with a new shot. We talked about Amazon. Amazon hit us with some news today that they are dropping their own sports nutrition line. Now, some of you may say, whoa, well, this has been going on for a while. Like, no, this is a legit sports nutrition line. Not a ton of information out there yet, but my boy Shane over at Stacked obviously has the hookup and hooks us up here on the Be Informed Live Fit podcast. A couple other stories from Shane that we talk about. For those of you interested in the sports nutrition scene and industry, really good knowledge. Make sure you check out his site, Stacked. It's STACK3D.com. We are obviously at fitnessinformant.com. Fitness Informant is also available on all of your platforms of social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. That's right, I am on Snapchat, Twitter. I said Instagram. If you check out fitnessinformant.com this week, brand new reviews up. A couple from Iron Brothers Supplements, a new one from Muscle Elements, Amino PM. We got Vaso Blitz, which is now our #1 rated pump product. It's from Build Fast Formula. Dude, it's simple ingredients, but dosed correctly, it can go a long way. And then Muscle Tech's Nitro-Tech Casein Gold Protein Powder is now live up at fitnessinformant.com. Super excited that our guest next for episode 10 is going to be 4 times world's strongest man, Brian Shaw from the United States of America. This dude signed a deal with Redcon One. Can't thank Aaron Singerman enough for helping hook this up, bringing Brian on. I have this and I'm going to talk about this in the opener of the podcast with Brian, but I've started watching these Netflix documentaries on strongmen, and it's absolutely insane what these men and even women who do strongmen, like what they have to eat, what they're lifting, their lives. I mean, it's not easy. And it's impressive because I have no issues with bodybuilding, the sport of bodybuilding. I think what people do in the sport of bodybuilding is super impressive. I bodybuild personally myself, just not to compete. But I don't compete because I don't want people to subjectively judge me for my hard work. I know I'm phenomenal in terms of like my hard work. But in strongman, the only person that can judge you is you. If you can't pick up what they put in front of you, you're not going to become the world's strongest man. It's that simple. So there's no subjective voting, no subjective insights and bullshit in the world of strongman, which I really, really greatly appreciate. So that's all I'm going to say here on episode 9, but we're going to swing it over to my quick conversation with Shane over at Stacked, and then from there we'll bring in Ryback Reeves from Feed Me More Nutrition, former WWE Superstar, still a professional wrestler, and we may see him back on the WWE screen very soon.
For the last 2 decades, we have been the best-kept secret of the supplement industry. We've kept our heads down and worked. We pioneered full label transparency and full therapeutic doses because we believe that truly hard work requires truly effective tools. 2 decades is a long time to commit to one pursuit, but when you act with purpose and become centered in yourself, eventually you realize that you were born and bred for this. The things you once thought impossible, you now do every day. We don't like the easy way, it just doesn't feel right. We'll take the long, hard road over a shortcut any day. It takes longer, sure, but in the end, you know you earned it. And with the right team behind you, pushing yourself further than you've ever been would be just another afternoon doing what you love most.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back inside the Be Informed Live Fit podcast. A face you haven't seen for a little bit, and it's a sexy face actually here in America now. Shane, welcome to my country, brother. It's been a little bit. You're back in Vegas. Olympia's around the corner. We're a month away from the Mr. Olympia. We're a month away from probably Phil Heath winning another Sandow. Maybe not. We'll see. But we're a month away from a sports nutrition expo in which Amazon has had a large presence over the last couple of years, even so much as streaming the Mr. Olympia competition. I believe it was 2 years ago. But now they're there representing themselves, I hear, as a sports nutrition brand. What do you know, dude?
Yeah, so they kind of I got the news today on this one. It's a new brand called Own Power spelled without the vowels. And it's just a full sports nutrition brand. They got 3 different protein powders, 2 pre-workouts, and a variety of basics. You got creatine, aminos. 2 of the 9 products are in what they call an elite series. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of more advanced, and they're pretty interesting, very, very well put together. The elite series, the protein is a fully transparent blend of casein, isolate, milk protein, and the pre-workout is also the elite pre-workout is another good one. 22-gram serving. Fully dosed ingredients in there. You got 6 grams of citrulline. This seems to be like at least the best brand I've seen that they've put their name or their title Amazon brand to.
Well, it's super interesting, right? Because they had the Amazon Elements series. You and I talked about that. They have just basically commodity supplements in pill format, and now this 22-gram pre-workout, which for those listening, watching, however you're getting this podcast, to understand what a 22-gram serving size pre-workout is, that is probably on average, definitely double, probably the average out there, about 10, 10.5. But I've seen pre-workouts as low as 7 before. We've all had it. So for a store brand, a private label brand, if you want to even call that, I mean, it looks like they're trying to brand themselves outside of Amazon even with this name and with the graphics on the container. But 22.5 grams is a ton. And their protein powder is no joke. That's actually a pretty sufficient protein powder, which, I mean, you reported that stacked today, 13 grams of whey isolate, 7 grams of milk isolate, and 5 grams of micellar casein, which, I mean, it's better than a lot of the stuff that you're going to find out on the market, for sure. So this is interesting to me because I wonder how it's structured is very similar to what bodybuilding.com did. And they had like their bodybuilding.com line, then they had their signature series line. Now we have an elite series line from Amazon. Amazon's distribution model and what they own in at least this country is tenfold what bodybuilding ever had. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, what's their presence and what do you know about Amazon as a company? And obviously they're interested in this space. It's a huge space. And people shop more and more at Amazon probably versus any other online retailer by far. Is this something that you foresee them accelerating quite a bit as we roll into the Olympia and post-Olympia, and maybe they're going to have this be an integral part of their website?
I would say so. Like, to be fair, Amazon Elements wasn't really something I saw everywhere, over the year that's been out. So, I mean, this may just be another brand that they put out there. I still see incredible value in all the other brands. Like, I mean, it takes a lot to build a brand. And,
for sure.
And this is, to be fair, I looked on Instagram, I looked on Facebook. I couldn't find this brand anywhere. The only place I saw it was on Amazon. And, I mean, the interesting thing is that it's invitation only right now.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same with the Amazon Elements brand. The Amazon Elements brand is still only available to Prime members.
Right.
You can't get it just not being a Prime member, and this one isn't even available to Prime members. It's invitation. We applied for an invitation. I don't know if we're gonna get it, but I mean, I don't really know how it's going to go. It'll be interesting to see, but the line is definitely the best brand and lineup I've seen from Amazon. To be fair,
there's literally nothing about this brand online. Like I just Googled Own Power Amazon, and the only thing that comes up is the video and your article at Stack. Like literally the only thing. I'm looking now, and Amazon.com owns like all the links, and not one of them has this on it. So it's super interesting. This is the type of knowledge that Shane's dropping on the regular basis over at Stack, which is STACK3D.com. Let's go away from Amazon. We know how powerful they are. We know how big they are. Let's go to the world of energy shots, energy drinks. Bang owns the market. Bang is available everywhere. Everybody compares their energy drink to Bang when it comes out. It's like, we're better than Bang because X, Y, Z. Well, Bang is taking a different approach to the energy market, going after potentially 5-hour energy with a shot form. What do we got here?
Yeah, I mean, they dropped previews and sneak peeks over the last couple of weeks, but they kind of officially unveiled a Bang energy shot. But it is a little bit different to typical ones. It's a carbonated shot, so it's not just your typical, like, straightforward. It's more along the lines of the Bang energy drink. Similar formula, similar ingredients. You got the BCAA, super creatine, CoQ10, and caffeine's in there as well.
How big is the shot? I mean, is it like just like a 5-hour energy shot type size, or is it?
Yeah. Okay. I believe it is 90 mils.
Huh. Okay. So I'd be curious to see what they actually packed in that baby, like in terms of their creatine and their caffeine. I mean, do you know what's available for caffeine?
No. Well, I mean, all we've got is the preview, and they call out all those ingredients. But as you say, it's a 90 mil shot. You ain't gonna about to stick as much in.
Not unless you throw a bunch of B12 in it, kind of like what 5-hour does. So I mean, that's interesting. It's convenient. It's more grab and go, and also it's going to cost them a shit less to ship than those 12-pack cases of cans. It'll make it easier for them at the Olympia, too. Is there a lot of noise around this product? Like, do you think people are going to be interested in a shot version, or do you think like they own the carbonated canned beverage market in sports nutrition? Like, literally, they own it. So, I mean, are they leveraging that to hopefully have people take shots, or are they looking to target a new consumer with this type of form?
I think it'd be interesting. I know from my end, stats-wise, that people aren't paying attention to it as much as a new energy drink flavor
Sure.
for Bang. Like Ice, when we put these things out, they didn't seem to get as much draw from my end. But I think someone commented, I see all the comments, and they were quite interested. Someone was saying, you know, oh, so there's less Bang to enjoy now. So I mean, it'd be interesting to see how it goes, but I think they're just sort of expanding that Bang name. I mean, they did the caffeine-free version, so a shot, I guess, kind of makes sense as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. It's nowhere near as many flavors as the drink. They got 3, but they're all also flavors that you know, people will recognize from the Bang menu. So, you know, be cross-familiar and stuff like that.
I'll be completely honest. Like, I'm not a Bang consumption. Like, I don't consume Bang. I don't consume energy drinks but I, from a marketing side of things and where I come from that world, it's got to be one of the most brilliantly things that VPX has ever done by far. Yeah. I mean, they have, VPX themselves have good brand. Like, their zero carb SRL protein is one of my favorite protein powders I've ever taken. Redline used to be good. But I mean, it's like a different brand. You go to the Olympia and it's not associated with VPX at all, and people love it. I mean, it is literally what they did is they created a lifestyle of a drink very similar to what Red Bull did, to the point where they're no longer, I think, considered what you would consider an energy drink. But like with Red Bull now is an entertainment company. Like that's what they refer to themselves as, right? So I think Bang is obviously doing the same thing. High Power Potion kind of trying to do something like that with their DJ Khaled alliance that we talked about previously on this show. Then you get a company like America Labs come out with an energy drink. Everybody's trying to take advantage of this energy consumption crisis that we have here in America and overseas. And then Rep Sports has Raise. Raise is now Raise, for people who are familiar with Rep Sports, is the name of their fat burner, but they now have named their RTD beverage, which I believe only is available in 3 flavors. It's recently launched. Luckily, they're going to send me some. I'll try it out. I mean, I'll test it for the site. I don't know. Do you know much about Raise and what Rep's trying to do with this energy drink? Because it's a direct consumer model. They're not going to be in C stores. It's super expensive. 0 sugar is what they're touting right on the front of the can. And their flavors are like watermelon, guava, like different-ish. But Bang also has a guava. And Bang also has a watermelon. So, I mean, how different is this product? Do you foresee this product being from what's currently out there?
I think it's right. It's in line with Bang. It makes sense. I mean, it's a performance. It's not just an energy drink. It's a performance drink. They've got BCAAs in there, choline, caffeine, carnitines in there, alpha GPC. Woo! They kind of promote it as a energy focused hydration and recovery drink. So right. I mean, it's not your Monster. It is more in line with Bang, and yeah, I mean, it's 0 calories like Bang. It's meant to taste amazing. I haven't tried it yet either, but it's meant to taste pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. So I would say, yeah, it's kind of along the lines of the High Power Potion. I would still consider America Energy as more of an energy drink than a performance one. Sure. But so I would say in line with Bang, a great competitor. I mean, depends how it's going to taste, obviously. Yeah, I mean, but you got to win on taste.
Win on price. I think price-wise, they should be okay. From what I've heard, they actually, Rep actually owns the manufacturing process for their beverage. So, they own the bottling service of it.
Yeah,
so,
they sent me pictures of some machine a while back, and they were telling me it was a canning machine or a carbonate machine or something.
Which is a big investment to make for you're putting a lot of money into your future of this product versus doing a contract manufacturer, whatever it might be. So let's shift gears a little bit. It's still within the energy world. Christian Guzman literally just got engaged. I think he's posting all this stuff on Instagram. Maybe it's in a later post. But anyway, Christian Guzman's Up energy drink, which is available, or it was available in a lot of different grocery stores, but it got in trouble in terms of the name. Like there was, you guys reported at Stack, a lawsuit came out literally the day of. It seemed like name change, same product in the can. What do you know about what's going on with this?
I mean, if I remember, the name thing came up a couple months after they did a launch, and then they did kind of a relaunch. They switched from the original bottle into cans, and that was around the time that the lawsuit was still going on. And then they just switched the name completely to 3D Energy. Everything is the same. It still tastes as good as the original. Formula's the same, cans, packaging. That's just called 3D Energy instead of Up Energy. And they're kind of coming out big with the new name change. They said they already launched it. They launched one new flavor with it, a green one. It's exclusive to 7-Elevens in Chicago and I can't remember the other place now, and Hawaii in October is what they told me. And they have 3 more flavors that are coming out later this year. They haven't sort of named them or revealed the colors or flavors, but they'll be coming out later this year. And so it's pretty big, pretty good relaunch.
I actually haven't tried any of them. I mean, are they good?
It is. Okay. It is good. It is very good.
I mean, it's available at the grocery store down the street, like a nice high-end natural organic grocery store. They have them. Target has them, I believe, too, actually, here in the States.
Yeah,
so
it's a good drink. I would definitely compare it to. It's got a little bit of. It's not 0 calorie. I think it's like. I can't remember what it is. It's not a lot, but it tastes about as good as. I would say it's like a sweet version of a Monster. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kind of a bridge between America Energy and Monster. The white one is absolutely incredible. The green one's meant to be good. I don't like the red, and I haven't tried the blue. But, you try that white one, you won't be disappointed. It tastes pretty good.
All right, dude. Olympia's around the corner. Literally, from this podcast, it is a month away. What launch, what product, what brand are you most excited about interacting with at the expo? Because you'll be there this year. I'm not. I won't be able to make it this year because I'm having a baby, so I have to have set priorities this year. But every year, something big happens at the Olympia, and we'll probably talk about it in 2 weeks when you're on. But like, there's been some whispers of certain things that are going to launch around the Olympia time. Like, is there something that in the years that you've covered this industry and what you cover on a daily basis, is there a product release, a new brand? There's new brands all the time, or is there anything that excites you about this year's Olympia that you're excited to get more information about?
I would say the thing is that on the online world, you got kind of a mix of things because there are brands who don't go there or don't exhibit.
It's too damn expensive. I mean, it's super expensive to get a booth.
They'll launch something during that week, though, as to celebrate the Olympia or whatever. And I would say that the most excited thing, the product I'm most excited for would have to be the new Devastate.
Have you tried it?
I haven't tried it.
I've gotten to try it, White Diamond, and it's good. It's the best focus pre-workout I've ever taken from Waldrom's company, Inspired. So I'm not a huge fan of like the scratch your face off energy. I would rather have like 1,200 milligrams of alpha GPC and just pack that shit with Huperzine A or whatever it might be. Like, that's my jam, and I think that I'm not sure what Chris had in it, but for me, I had a lot better focus with this than I did with his previous versions, which people raved about. So I hope you get your hands on that because I think you're going to like it.
Yeah, I think I'm meant to get samples, but that's just the launch that I'm kind of excited about. Like, back when they did White Cut, he launched that, and then a few months later, he relaunched it like just an even better version, and he's doing the same again. The current Devastate's just a few months old, and he's relaunching a new one pretty much the week of the Olympia, from what I know. I haven't heard too much about other launches at the Olympia. I know there's some coming before. I know of a few.
Low Blinder's protein bar officially launches at the Olympia this year, right? Is that his timing? I know that. I think when we worked out, he mentioned around the time at the Olympia, he was gonna actually get a booth for the protein bar. I don't know. I know you guys posted about it. We posted about it, but like that was the timing I understood for the protein bar launch. Unless that has gotten delayed, I'm not sure.
From what he told me, he's still working on it. He's meant to kind of release the nutrition profile soon, and then the bar is meant to be at the Olympia. I haven't heard enough about it, I guess. I haven't sort of seen, like, it's still very vague at the moment. He said it's like none of this and none of that. Yeah. And it's to sort of be a game-changing protein
If he can
bar.
make it taste like his protein powders, he's already won.
If it's as good as he says it is, and like, we get to see what it looks like, because at the moment, haven't really seen anything. Right. That'd probably be up there. That'll definitely be up there, and I have to give it a go. But
right. Obviously, you got to give it a go. I mean, you got to try it.
But Devastate for me is just because I've heard so much about that one. That's probably the one I'm most excited about. But with the Olympia, there's always things that you don't hear anything about, and then they'll just pop up at the Olympia, brands, products, and stuff like that.
They'll pop up at the Olympia, and then you won't see them again in a year. So that's the biggest mistake these companies make. Like a little PSA for sports nutrition companies: if you want to make a splash, don't make it at the Olympia in year one. Take your damn time, because that stuff is expensive. It costs money to handle these samples, and you never make that money back. Like, you're not going to make that money back. So, but hey, it's cool to have a booth at the Olympia and be around the Bang Girls. So apparently that's a cool thing to do. Yeah, dude, good stuff. STACK3D.com. The dude's going to be all over it over the next month for sure with the Olympia coming up. We actually are pretty excited. I mean, the guest tonight's former WWE superstar Ryback Reeves has a nutrition brand himself, Feed Me More Nutrition. So he's going to be on. In 2 weeks, we're going to have 4-time world's strongest man, Brian Shaw. And I'm telling you, I'm geeking out about this one, Shane, because I've literally fallen in love with the sport of powerlifting and strongman, watching some Netflix documentaries on these people and what they consume for calories. And here's the thing, like I've said this, I could compete on stage in bodybuilding. I choose not to because I don't agree with 11, 12 people who sit below me and subjectively judge my hard work. But in strongman, there's nobody that judges you. You either pick the shit up or you don't. And Brian Shaw has 4 times world's strongest man. These guys are deadlifting 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
They would eat you for a snack, Shane. And you're a big dude. You're a snack to Brian Shaw. I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand how Aaron Sugarman is able to give him enough supplements in his contract with Redcon One to provide him with what he needs, because this dude's a massive beast. And it'll be a different side of things because we focus so much on bodybuilding and on sports nutrition. Strongman's a whole different ballgame. So it'll be very cool to have him on. I'm excited to have you back on in a couple of weeks. I'm sure a lot more will come to fruition on the Amazon brand. A lot more will come to fruition as we gear into the Olympia. But yeah, dude, it's STACK3D.com. He's on Instagram, he's on Facebook. He's hustling. He's also in Sin City now. So if you run into him on the streets, do me a favor and steal his wallet. That'd be the best thing you could do for us. So appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Thank you.
Don't you hate when your protein powder doesn't mix properly? Redcon One's 100% whey isolate, isotope, tastes great, is the absolute highest quality, and of course, mixes well. No shaking required.
On the line with me this week is the CEO of Feed Me More Nutrition. He's also professional wrestler, more commonly known to the people who watch television in this country and around the globe as Ryback Reeves. Buddy, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you having you on.
Thank you for having me. I hope everything is going well with the new podcast.
Yeah, man. Everything's good. We got you on. We had Ronnie Coleman on. We had Branch Warren on. So you're in some pretty good company, but you yourself, obviously, good company as well. Dude, we had you on the website when we launched back in a while ago, and it's been, Feed Me More Nutrition's been just over a year old now, I think,
year and
right?
a half.
Yeah.
Year and a half.
So I know when you launched, you had a pre-workout. You had your big guy testosterone booster, and you had the ISO Hungry Isolate. Since then, you've added Shell Shock, which is your fat burner, and then you added an intra workout / electrolyte mix. So now you got 5 SKUs in a year and a half in this industry, which is a fucked up industry. But you come from pro wrestling, so this is nothing new to you. What have you learned?
Yeah, I went from one messed up industry to the next.
Oh, yeah. You went from one ego-driven industry to another hugely ego-driven industry. So not a whole lot of change between the two. What have you learned in a year and a half being in this industry that you maybe didn't know prior to getting into it?
No. So I knew when I was doing this, I would have preferred to have been actively wrestling on television when I had done this. The way circumstances worked out, though, and I was really hurt, and I had to get away, and I was not happy creatively and over a lot of things. And I had to get away, and it was the best thing I ever did for my health, and it saved my entire career. But so I launched this January of last year, and I knew it was going to be a challenge from the start. And the main thing, dude, I'm learning every single day on the job with this, and I've been extremely hands-on with this from the very beginning. I try not to pay attention. So believe it or not, I try not to pay attention to what any other companies are doing because I just, quite frankly, I don't care.
Sure.
And I've learned I just compete with myself. And the reason I started Feed Me More Nutrition to begin with was I was not happy with the supplements that were available. And by that, most of these companies, and then I don't want to badmouth companies or get into a whole war like that, but a lot of them, that any company that uses artificial sweeteners, aspartame, sucralose, and things of that nature, to me, the stuff is not good for human beings, and the research has shown that it's a cheaper way to make products, and it goes completely against what the supplement industry should stand for, which to me, the number one thing, and it's the same for fitness, and health should be the number one priority for everybody involved in this. And besides that, though, you want to create products that actually do what they say. And as we know, that's not always the case in the supplement industry. So being a professional wrestler, being a drug-tested athlete, my entire WWE career, I was always looking for ways to enhance my physique naturally through proper supplementation, proper diet. And I just started making my own formulas because I did not trust what was out there. So it was buying like raw ingredients and different things and mixing, matching, and learning through trial and error. And my mom, I was 11, 12 years old, and my mom was always into working out and had all the different herbs in the cabinets. And I would always, that's when I started like just looking at that stuff. And then AOL came out, the internet, and I remember being a kid and just looking up stuff and trying to find, there's nowhere near what there is now available today. And you had to do a little more searching then, but it was still way easier than it had been for people in the past. And I just was not happy with everything out there, but it has been a continuous learning process, and to the point where, for me, I'm trying to maximize my online presence. And there's a ton of competition out there, and there's competition in any field of life, anything that you try to go to. So all I could do is put out my message, what I stand for, how my products are different, and actually work. And that for me is the main thing, but it's just increasing the exposure for that. And like, again, I've gone through, so like website things, I've gone through 2 different web people who were not ideal for my business, who did not understand e-commerce. And then where I went out and hired a professional marketing team. And then I realized my website is a major issue because we're getting a lot of traffic to the website, but we're not converting as nearly as high as we should be for the amount of traffic that we're getting. And it's okay, revamping everything, hiring a brand new team to redo the website, which is going to be done next week, actually, and just continuously putting out content. And it's just nonstop work, and it's morning to night. And it's not to say, I work from home and I travel on the weekends for my wrestling stuff, but you're constantly just doing something, answering emails. And like, again, that's another thing for me. I deal with the challenge of I have to answer emails and I have to help people. But I also have the people that just want to email me and just talk to me because I'm Ryback. So like I have to filter through that stuff, and it's not easy. And because you want to be able to give everybody the attention that they need and answer their questions, but at the same time you have people that just want to ask wrestling questions and whatnot. So, but man, it's every day and it's not going to stop. Like we are in a very good position though to start pushing here, moving forward, and we've got a year and a half under our belt, and it's not easy. That's the one thing, and it's a lot more money. I think a lot of people that just assume, you see it, like it seems like everybody's coming out with a pre-workout now.
Right, it's the easy thing to do.
It doesn't. Yeah, and it's not. It is what it is, and like you'll never frown upon that with anybody trying to make a living and stuff. But it's like, in this day and age, you got to have a product that's different and stands out and that is unique. But it costs to really get into this game. It is a tremendous amount of money, and I found that out firsthand. I knew going in it was going to be a lot, and it's double or triple what I thought it was going to be just the first year and a half. So, but it's been worth it, and it's good.
I think what people don't understand or don't realize from the outside looking in is they'll see an Instagram picture and think, hey, it'd be cool to be in this industry. It'd be cool to take a picture of a Ferrari and some hot chick. But it's not like, that's not the reality of the business. The reality is, in your situation, you're sweetening your products, we'll say that, with like stevia and monk fruit. That shit's expensive alone, just those two things. And then I'm looking at Finish It, which is your BCAA electrolyte mix. And you mentioned you don't really pay attention to competition, but you obviously do your research because you have Instaminos, which is a compound solution BCAA, which is like the best on the market. So how do you find time? Because I know that you're very hands-on in terms of the formulation. Like you formulate it, you test your products before you put them to market. How are you finding time to research these ingredients, to do the concoctions, and then to trial them until you find the right formula that works for you, that you think would work for other people?
Well, again, I've been doing this I'm 36 now. I've been taking supplements my entire career, and I've always invested in myself heavily on that end. And I'm completely against drugs and things of that nature. So I've learned early on that I have to pay attention to this stuff because every little bit counts. And again, I don't pay attention to what other companies are necessarily doing, but I got very fortunate with the manufacturer that I work with now out of California, and one of the guys, the head guys there, and I deal with the owner, and the company was actually sold to another manufacturer out there, and here recently, but the head owner with the other manufacturer stayed on, and he was the one I dealt with primarily, and he is a food scientist, and like he puts me to shame on like what I think I know, and then me and him, we just talk all the time, and it's one of those situations where it really, really worked out well for me. Finding somebody, again, you gotta put yourself around people that are more educated than you in certain things, and I know I'm like the trial and error guy. I'm not by no means an expert in anything, but I'm a guy that has a lot of experience taking supplements and trying different things and having great results and having a physique at 290 pounds and 6'2", and being lean year round and being naturally strong. And I've talked about when I was from 20 to 23, 24, had experimented with a little bit of different steroids getting into wrestling. And then that was it. And it was an adolescent mindset. And I am firmly against all that. And so everything I have achieved success-wise has been without them. And it's everything just kind of came together really well. But it's taken years and years of just trial and error, and just it's mixing and matching and seeing what works, and then, hey, try this. What do you think of this? And seeing, that's awesome, and just getting firsthand feedback, and then going to the company, dealing with the owner, and then him actually critiquing me on certain things and challenging me. Well, here's what I think on this, and then okay, let's try it that way, and just literally just trial and error, and until finally, yes, this is it. And for me, it's a fun process, man, because the feedback, that's the one thing on the supplements, the feedback has been just amazing with every different supplement that we've come out with. And like, for me, I really listen to our consumer. And like the one thing, there's been one complaint that I've seen that has been common across everything. And that was the Wake Up Unlimited Energy is an amazing, badass pre-workout, all natural. And the energy ingredients we use are different than a lot of the different pre-workouts out there. But people that like stevia love the taste. I love the taste of them, of the cherry limeade and pink lemonade that we have. But a lot of people that tried it, they don't necessarily care about performance. Yep. They care about taste. And so that's been the one thing we're like, well, we didn't like the taste as much as it could have. So we nailed it. We got a new pink lemonade coming out. That is, it tastes even better. And we got a green apple we're going to be doing. It's coming up. They got that all perfected finally. And so we're just adjusting as we go along. Right. And just, it's been things that have worked for me. And I've competed at a very high level for a lot of years. And as you know, drugs are a big part of this whole game with a lot of different companies and people and for me, that's not the case. And that's what sets me apart is I actually use supplements to help me look the way that I look. And I don't use something else and then just endorse something for the paycheck. So it's an entirely different mindset. And for some people that's why, again, like the expos and everything, I stay away from all that. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm doing things my way, and it's worked so far.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a big expo down the street from you in like a month called the Olympia, and you go there and you see a lot of these upstart companies who get the natural idea that it'd be cool to own a supplement company. They buy a booth for, I don't even know what they charge now, like $5,000 to $10,000 at the convention center, and then they're not there the next year. And it's pretty easy because it's not a if you build it, they will come mentality in this industry. Like in your case, you have a social media following, you have a body, you live a fitness lifestyle, so it makes sense. Like it totally makes sense to transition into the supplement game, but then you get those younger people that just want to live that fancy life. Like it doesn't work that way. And I want to talk about something you just mentioned. You said like you don't use drugs, you actually use supplements to look the way that you look. But you also have an understanding like you have to eat whole foods to look the way that you look. And for me to look the way that I look, and supplements are exactly that. They're supposed to supplement a whole food diet. And before I even came on this podcast with you, I had a guy ask me like, I like the look of Ryback and I like the look of Bobby Lashley. Is there a pill? Is there something I can take to look like them? And it's to me, it's a head scratching that people still think that way, that there's a magic pill. And a role model of yours, Arnold Schwarzenegger, says that there's no such thing as a magic pill. So when you're educating people on fitness and living a fit lifestyle and trying to develop a physique like yours, where do you start with your advice with them?
So again, it comes down to proper nutrition first and foremost. And that's for me, like I get people, for me, this has been a really cool thing with my podcast, Conversation with the Big Guy. And when I go do my wrestling meet and greets, for me, it was never when fans would come up to me and, we loved you on this moment, so-and-so on WWE, this and that. I never really took a lot of pride in that because it's just acting and it's just a role. And it wasn't, it was all designed that way. And there were times where I got to play a really cool role and there were times when I had to be the bad guy and whatnot. But now doing my podcast, and this was one of the main issues one of the reasons why I wanted to come out with my podcast and tie everything together and keep my voice out there was I wanted people to know the real me. And to give them advice and little fitness tips and things that I've done that have worked for me. And to have people come up and I just met a guy 2 weeks ago. He lost 125 pounds just because he started listening to the podcast, taking Feed Me More Nutrition and listening to my health tips. I've met a guy that lost 175 pounds, 150. There's a woman that lost like 85. It's happening more and more now. And so for me, I try to give nutrition advice more than anything, rather than in the supplements. I don't really heavily promote on the podcast. They get talked about here and there if it comes up a little bit, but we don't invest a ton of time on that. And it's just more BSing, but nutrition stuff more than anything. And that to me is where I try to point people in the direction of, you got to have your diet in order first and foremost before you go to supplements. And supplements add to that, and they can help speed up the results if you do them properly. And you know, it's not a magic pill though. It doesn't you just don't take a fat burner and not change anything. And, you know, you magically have the body that you want to have. It's hard work and dedication, and you got to set goals, and it's constant work. And a lot of people just don't understand that. And it's, in supplements, this is a good funny thing. There's here in Las Vegas. There's a woman, and she's a drug user, as far as performance enhancers, and she was like, "Oh, I hate supplements. They don't work." And she's just all for drugs. She's pro drugs, and I couldn't be any more against that. And it's sad because it's not the case. Supplements don't work like steroids, but they do work if you take the right ones and do the right things with a proper diet. And unfortunately, a lot of people just they don't understand that. And it's there's no quick fix though, as far as that. And to touch on what you said about the expos, that's exactly what I was going to tell you. There's people, they'll spend all this money, they'll go there, then they'll disappear. I would rather take that money and invest it to social media advertising in this day and age and things of that nature, rather than go and get a booth and then give away another 10,000 in free supplements. So.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're exactly right. Those expos end up costing a ton of money in marketing dollars. To your point, you can target so detailed and social and get in front of the right people at the right time to make that conversion that we were just talking about. I want to go back. You mentioned this girl that she said that supplements don't work and drugs do. Okay, drugs will work depending on what you want. Like if you want to blow up in X amount of time and be in an anabolic state, sure, drugs will work. Like if we talk about your testosterone booster, like your testosterone booster that you sell, your over-the-counter testosterone booster is going to keep your testosterone levels in the healthy range. It's not going to push you across that anabolic threshold, nor should it. Because then, I mean, test boosters are a very interesting supplement to me, because I think a lot of people will purchase them without even knowing where their test levels sit. Your story, when you formulate this, is very interesting because you knew exactly where your test levels were, and they were dangerously low. And I'll let you tell a story, but You developed this supplement that you took to help you get back into the normality range to live a normal life, which is what test boosters, if they're done right, are supposed to do. So the PSA to people listening is there is not an over-the-counter testosterone booster on the planet that is going to put you into an anabolic state where you're going to blow up like you're taking steroids. That would be a steroid. So I just want people to know that. But
That's an entirely different thing. Yeah, and a lot of testosterone boosters, and unfortunately, you'll see a wide scale of them if you just do a search online or on Amazon. And again, the supplement industry, I preach this nonstop. There's a good way to make money and there's a bad way.
Yeah.
I believe, and obviously I'm in business to make money, but I believed, and when I got into this, that for me to feel good doing it, I had to create a product of service that was going to deliver and did exactly what it said it was going to do and could be a benefit to people's lives. And I feel like if every business had that in mind, the world would be a much better place. Unfortunately, that's not the case when you're dealing with money. And in the supplement industry and the health and fitness industry, it is, well, they're looking at the bottom line and, well, how cheap of a product can we make? How much can we mark it up? And how much can we sell? And how much can we make? Mm-hmm. For me, the first question is, okay, how can I create this to help people? Okay, then what are my costs? What is it? What are my margins going to be? And I just take a different mindset with this. Mm-hmm. And the testosterone booster was one of those that, obviously I mentioned it was a very adolescent mindset. And this is for me too, it's a true story. I was in Gold's Gym working there at 19 years old, and Triple H, who have gone on record as saying he's my favorite for quite a long time when I was a kid. And when he made that whole transformation, that really motivated me being a wrestling fan. And I started working out 3-4 hours a day because in my head, I knew nothing about drugs. I was a kid and I was like, wow, he could change his body. So can I. And I'll never forget, he came into Gold's Gym. And at this point, I met all the pro bodybuilders. Cutler used to come in there, Sean Ray, Paul Dillette. There was anyone who was anyone in bodybuilding was coming to the Gold's Gym that I worked at when I was working the front desk there for a little bit at 19. And I'll never forget, Hunter came in there with Kevin Nash and Stephanie, and they met with Charles Glass and they trained with him. I was working at the front and I let them in. And after their workout, Hunter and Nash were talking about drugs at the juice bar. No, and I could hear
the juice bar
they were talking about. Yeah, no, and couldn't have been a more perfect situation. Right. And it was one of those things, and I heard them what they were talking about, and in my head that made it okay because I wanted to be a wrestler. That I need to do steroids to make it in wrestling. Now, that is a complete adolescent mindset. I hate it. I'm glad I actually experienced it because I now know when people message me and look up to me, I know the message I want to put out there because I know the effect that it can have on children and adults. And people unfortunately compare themselves to other people, which is just the way we're kind of taught in life. And I'm trying to not live that way anymore now. But anyways, that justified in my mind that I could play around a little bit with this stuff. And I thought I knew what I was doing, but unfortunately, when you get into this and you do drugs, it can have a very negative effect on your natural testosterone levels just doing one cycle. Yeah. And it was something for me in that when it was all said and done, I remember getting blood. I always got blood work done before and after, and tried to. There's no healthy way to do it. Mm-mm. So and people can try to lie to themselves all day long. There's not. And my natural test levels just never came back. Yeah. And I remember just living with it forever. And it wasn't outside of just being tired a little bit. It wasn't horrible because it wasn't like they were just bottomed out completely. Yeah. They were just lower than they should have been. And I eventually went on TRT, the testosterone replacement therapy, at 27 or 28 years old, and lived a healthy, normal life. But I know there came a point. I tried so many different testosterone boosters and got blood work, and nothing worked. Yeah. And just nothing. And finally, there were some ingredients in a few different products that I noticed. I started feeling. I'd stopped doing the TRT, and I couldn't just buy one bottle of stuff because there would be ingredients, and I'd have to buy separate ingredients. And I started mixing and matching and literally just self-experimenting on trying to restore my natural testosterone. And finally, I found a formula that worked. And it was went and got blood work done, and for the first time, my test levels it came up to mid-normal, and that was after being at the whatever the range was. If the range was 330s, the bottom normal, right in 329 is considered low. I was always like 310, 315, 300. I was just under that. I wasn't drastically like 100 or 50 or anything that you hear some people are zero. And so I was able to get my testosterone up a considerable deal with this, and keep out my estrogen and everything in check. And it was literally trial and error and just self-experimenting, so to speak. But I've always been fascinated by this stuff. But I'm a big advocate of like TRT and for people just being healthy and in getting blood work and staying in the normal ranges. We have the ranges for a reason, and it's in being mid-normal and just in feeling good, and I'm very, very pro that. So
yeah, I think that's good. We've talked TRT, HRT on here before, and there are people of the mindset who assume that it's a drug and that it shouldn't be allowed. But those, I think the people that say that don't understand how extremely dangerous and how unhealthy it is to have low testosterone. Obviously, in your case, extremely tired. But there are cases where people are so depressed, it puts you to that level of like wanting to kill yourself even, and it's not healthy. So I think TRT, HRT is great. To your point, I think people are getting on it sooner in life now, and it might be because they experimented with things, or could be the diets that we have and the food that's out there now being so processed.
Yeah.
Your testosterone, your test booster retails for $65 on your website, which isn't necessarily like, it's not pocket change for a lot of people. Now, what I'm saying is, I think people should be smart and get their blood work done. Even if you're not doing drugs, if you're not planning on doing drugs, I still think if you're in the 20s and 30s to go get your blood work done, to say, yes, then I need to spend money on a testosterone booster. I think so many people buy these products, and half the products, to your point, are garbage that are out there, but they don't even know where their current test levels are. And you can get your blood work done for 50, 60, 70 bucks on different websites. You order it, go to a lab, get the results back. How do you encourage people, and when you talk to them, when they reach out to you about their testosterone levels, is to go get their blood work actually done?
Absolutely. That's the one thing I tell them. And I have buddies, and I go, I said, but people in general we're lazy.
Right.
People, we want a quick fix. That's just how humans are, and especially in this day and age. And it's, you can tell people all day long, and I think out of everyone I've told, I know there was one person that went and did it and actually saw their testosterone, knew what they were beforehand, and saw their testosterone levels come up 200-300 points on the next test and things of that nature. And most people don't do it. They just take it, and then they kind of go by how they feel. And I think it's always is getting blood work before and after, and talking to your doctor. Yeah. That's a lot of things with men, because if you have low testosterone, and going to a board-certified endocrinologist or a doctor that truly is very knowledgeable and up to date on all the current methods and everything going on, and it's for men, I think that's the most important thing that we could do. And getting a yearly checkup every 6 months, and our health is all that we have.
Yep.
And once that goes, and we take everything for granted, and I've been guilty of it in the past and whatnot. So it's just, I stress it to people all day long, but whether they take that advice or not is something else. So, well,
I know men in general just don't like going to the doctor. I think it's just kind of like in our DNA. But like if we go to the doctor and we're doing our annual physical, they're not going to check your test levels. You have to ask them to do that on top of what they're currently doing. So, word of advice, people listening, like ask them to do your test levels. If you don't have insurance, you don't do the yearly physical, you can get, like I mentioned earlier, there's different websites. You can go to a Quest laboratory, get the stuff done, get your results back. At least then you know, and you're educated when you go into these things. To
touch on that before, not to cut you off, sorry, but to help so people actually know the proper things to ask for would be total testosterone, free testosterone. Free testosterone is more important than total testosterone in a lot of cases, and how you're actually using that testosterone. Estrogen is extremely important, and luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone are the 5 that I would tell people to get checked, to get that complete profile and have an idea. Because also estrogen, it all plays a key, man. It's all so important. And if you're out of whack and whatnot, you need to know beforehand where you're at And then if you try something, you just know by nature then what works and what doesn't work, and you can eliminate the things that don't work. And
yes,
if it's a severe problem where you do need to go on TRT, and then what your options are, and you can go into it being educated on the matter. So
yeah, and to your point, most places, depending on where you go, they'll have like a male hormone panel that'll include the LH, and which actually can affect infertility, fertility, which we could have a whole other podcast talking about that, which is absolutely crazy. What also, people are going to look at you, and you have a great physique. You always have when you're on television, and the first thing they're going to point the finger to, and you've heard this from a lot of people. I've heard it from people, I'm not even as big as you, but that you're on something, that you're on steroids. And I mean, to me, when people accuse me of that, I actually thought it was a compliment, because it's like, if I look that big and I'm not on them, great. But how many drug tests in WWE did you fail?
No drug tests in WWE as Ryback. I failed one when I was in developmental, when I was in that period between 20. I think that was right when they came out with, and this is one of the things I praise them for heavily, is the wellness policy. They had just introduced it, and none of us knew what it was. And it was, I never did a lot, but I had done a little bit of stuff off and on. And we had a free pass for the first test. And then we didn't know about the random testing yet. Like, it literally was also brand new. And I broke my thumb, and I was one of the only ones that was actually clean for the first test, even though we had a free pass. And because I in my head, I thought I was done with this stuff. But again, you're in a competitive atmosphere, and there's other people doing stuff. And I broke my thumb, and I freaked out. At that point, you're trying to make it. And I was known for always being the big guy and whatnot. And I wasn't going to be able to work out for, I think it was like 2 or 3 months. And I was like, I'm just going to take a little bit of this testosterone, and I'll be fine. And the wellness thing had just started, but nobody had any information. And then they came in and did a random test and busted me. And I was extremely embarrassed and just ashamed of myself. And I learned my lesson right then and there. And then they instituted the policy in full, and they had explained everything. And it literally forced me. Again, there's always ways around things with people there, I think, in different regards. But for me, I took that as a wake-up call, because I lost a lot of money during that, and it was embarrassing, and it was something I learned very early on, and I didn't want to be known for that, because I knew how hard I worked, and I never did a lot, but I just eliminated it from my life altogether at that point. And but as Ryback in WWE, like, everything that I've achieved there has all been me without it. So, and I passed all the drug tests, and it's go in, you pull your pants down to your ankles, you pull your shirt up above your nipples, and then you go piss in front of a guy. And it's just, that's what it was. Show up to TV, and it was all the time. I was tested all the time. And I've dealt with it, like you said, my entire life. I was accused of steroids in middle school. Like, I had a peak in my biceps and a forearm muscle without ever touching a weight. And kids thought I was on drugs, and it was just one of those. It's just always been around, as far as I've always just dealt with it. So.
Yeah, to the point. The reason why I bring it up is because when you were on TV and people really know you as Ryback, and you're main eventing, and you were headlining pay-per-views, like, this isn't drugged up, steroid up Ryback. This is, I bust my ass, I work hard, I eat a lot of food and catering, and I take care of myself, Ryback. And I just want people to know that, because the WWE wellness policy, people can say what they want about it. And from what I know about it, from being in the industry and having friends up there now, and from what you've told me, like, this is as strict as a drug policy as it comes. It's not, I mean, you mentioned, like, dropping your pants, pulling your shirt out.
There are ways, and like I've said, and I've heard stories on different things and whatnot, but for the most part, and if you look at today's wrestlers compared to yesteryear, it is night and day.
Yeah.
So, but again, anytime, and it's just, this is human nature. Whenever we see a muscular physique or somebody, the first thing you just think of is, because you don't actually see that person doing the work. You don't see them eating and what they're doing. You don't know how many years it's taken, and you don't know their mindset. It's just because there are so many people there that do drugs and whatnot, that you just tend to think, they do steroids. So, and oftentimes it's people it's kids, and it's people that aren't happy to begin with, and where they can't just look at the situation. Looking at that, okay, I can see that, or just rather, it's just people. That's just how human beings are, and again, I know the message I want to put out, and I try to put that out because I know the effect. Like I said with Triple H when I was younger, how that had on me, and I don't want to do that to people because it's not the right way.
Yeah, I think when people accuse people like you and me and others who work hard of using, it's just them projecting their insecurities because it's something like, I mean, they don't look that way, and they probably wish they would, and it sucks, but it's the way it is, and you're not going to change people, so you just keep doing you, and which is what you've been doing your entire career. I want to ask you a few questions. You've worked in WWE with a lot of strong people, and I just got done today actually watching a Netflix documentary on the strongman competition, which is fucking incredible. But Mark Henry was an integral part of this documentary that I watched. He was legitimately a world's strongest man. Did you lift with Mark? And if so, like how strong is this human being?
So no, I never saw Mark Henry work out once.
Really?
The entire WWE career. And that's not a knock on Mark.
Right.
He's legit the strongest guy that's ever worked for WWE, and legit one of the strongest men in the world, and probably at one point in time was the world's strongest man. He's extremely beat up. That obviously takes a huge toll on your body. And the way that he wrestled, he didn't necessarily do a lot of feats of strength in the wrestling ring necessarily, and nor did he have to. But he had the legit background already, so people know that he's strong. But he, by far, and Mark's one of those guys. I think Mark is probably, and from everything I've heard and talking to him, and he's never done drugs ever, according to him. And I believe him when he says it because he says it with such conviction. And I think he is probably just one of the world's just freakiest human beings, naturally strong. And to me, that you can't compare him to the guys that do steroids because there's so many of them that do, and it's night and day. And again, I think Mark is one of those rare, special human beings that I think, but he's mixed in with all these drug users, and those guys couldn't touch Mark if it was a level playing field, in my opinion. And I've heard stories about him with things of bending frying pans and the WWE thing they did where he actually used a legit pan and rolled it up, and the captains of Crush hand grips. The highest I ever got was a level 3, and Mark was telling me that he did a level 4 before upside down just for fun. Yeah. So that just lets you know, like, the straight. He's just if you just look at the man's bone structure, like he's probably half an inch taller than me, and I'm 6'2", so he's probably 6'3". Yeah. But he just has this. If you just look at his bone structure, and this guy, like, he has body fat on him, but he's rock solid. He's not like, his calves are just he's like a dinosaur when you look at him, as far as how he's built and whatnot. And he's one of, like I said, I think one of the very rare special human beings that are just exceptionally naturally strong. But by that point in WWE, when I was there, he was extremely beat up.
That's true.
And whatnot. Yeah. And so in that lifestyle, wrestling alone will do that to you. But imagine being legit one of the world's strongest men and then getting into wrestling after your powerlifting days. Like, I can't even imagine what his body's been through. So
we didn't talk a lot of wrestling, and that was by purpose. I really wanted to get over Feed Me More Nutrition, talk about what you're doing since your TV days. But I think it's also very important to give credit back to what you still do, because you are still professionally wrestling. You are running a professional supplement company. People will look at pro wrestling and either you love it, you hate it, you don't understand it. But when they it's all, it's fake, it's scripted, it's predetermined. Okay, that's one side of the coin. But professional wrestlers, in my opinion, because I've played every sport possible, are the most premier athletes on the planet. And that's, I truly believe that. And I want your take on it, because you were on the road 270, 280 days a year with WWE. I never experienced that, unfortunately. But I just got to experience, the weekend warrior stuff. Every weekend I was working on the indie scene, the independent scene, and that was enough to take a toll on your body. How did you get through, and what credit do you give to your brothers and sisters within the wrestling family for what you guys and gals do all the time?
No, it's being a WWE wrestler is probably the most challenging thing on earth. And when I say that, I mean physically and mentally. And being on the road, the travel, you're not just a professional wrestler, you're a professional traveler. Yeah. You have to be a professional in dealing with human beings. You're living in hotel rooms, rental cars, airports, airplanes, and arenas all over the world nonstop. When I was there, it was typically 5 days a week. And then on our tours, you're gone for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, sometimes 20, 24, 25, 26 days in other countries. And it is, you are hurt. You are constantly hurt. There's no time off. It's not like a fight where you go, you do a fight, you get 6 months off. And it is the most physically and mentally demanding job on the planet. And it takes a very special person to do that. I look back at all that, and I'm thankful for everything. And I'm trying, like I've told people when I walked away, I was in a situation, I'm having my 9th stem cell procedure done. I've had 3 on my back. This is going to be the 6th one on my shoulder. And I'll get 2 more, actually, number 10 and number 11 at the end of the year. And I should be good to go to return back to TV in 2019, wherever that is. But I will, for the first time, actually look into my options on that, whereas I haven't, because my health has been my number one priority, along with doing all this other stuff since I left. And still wrestling, but just had a much easier schedule. But I'm beyond thankful for everything and the platform that I had there and the opportunities at different times and whatnot. But anybody that does that job, that's why I hate to see with the wrestling community, because I remember anyone that watches wrestling has to understand that pretty much everyone that gets into it, and not to say necessarily everyone 100%, but I grew up watching it and was a fan my entire life. And I never once remember being negative or hating wrestlers or talking trash about them and they're hating people. And there's just so much negativity in the world now. And then, like, there's a strong fan base out there that it's mostly just people migrating together online that are so unhappy and so negative. And I just see them shit on wrestling and the wrestlers. And it's truly, like I said, it's such a physically demanding job. And if you look at wrestlers, particularly wrestlers, guys that do work for WWE or WWF, the lifespan of the guys are the worst out of all the sports or entertainment, if you look at it. And there's a reason for that. It's the human body is not meant to do that for a long period of time. So I was glad I got out when I did, able to regroup, reset at a young age, get my health back on track. Because if I would have stayed, I would have been forced to retire 6 months to a year with how bad my back was. And I dodged a bullet. And I every day I say thank you for the way everything worked out. But it's ideally, like I said, that for me, I love pro wrestling, and it's always going to be a part of my life. And I never wanted to walk away from it, but it was something I had to. And a lot of people, there's a lot of BS articles online, people that are just making money, creating their own lives to tell whatever story they want to tell. And I've said from the beginning, if you listen to my podcast or Why It Ended with Robbie E., that podcast, they did a really good job asking good questions on why I left and the things. You'll know the truth on why I did what I did, and trying to do other things that I was passionate about and loved that I wasn't necessarily allowed to do while I was there. So it's been a really good process.
I got 2 more questions for you, and then we'll wrap this up. But I was actually at your last WrestleMania in Dallas, and me and a group of buddies, we tend to do the WrestleMania thing every year. And I remember when you came out and defended the Intercontinental title on the pre-show, which you've been very vocal about. You were unhappy with it, and we were shocked as fans, educated fans. People, myself, obviously spending time within the industry, so I can definitely see the unhappiness and the creative direction, and then ultimately you putting yourself number one in terms of your health. You mentioned that the stem cell research is going to conclude at the end of the year. You can return to TV in 2019, wherever that may be. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I think that anybody who's a pro wrestler, especially that has spent time in New York, that's ultimately where you want to end up again and maybe end your career. Do you envision yourself back with the WWE prior to you stepping away for good from the industry?
Yeah, so that's one thing. Like when I left, and then I've been very honest and truthful for my fan base when I left, because I wanted them to understand that I didn't walk out on them, and that it was everything that was going on to the things that had led up to those final days, and my health. And that was something I stressed from the beginning, but the health part kind of was overlooked. And it was a lot of people that, especially like online sites, focused more on the creative aspect and didn't and told the stories that they wanted to tell. And to touch on what you said there, my final couple pay-per-views there, like I was always figured in. I was always used really well for the most part. It was except for big matches. There were things, and I've talked about it with my ankle situation and whatnot, and I had to get out of there. Just based on different things going on. But none of that would have happened had I signed my new contract. Instead, I would have been put on the pay-per-views. It was all political stuff going on at that point, and it's all part of the game. I was fine with it. I wasn't going to blink, because I knew what my decision was already at that point, and I knew I was on my way out. So you do the right thing, and you put over the other guy on your way out, which I did. I'd always done business the correct way, and that you'll never hear a bad story with me on anything like that, as far as that goes. But it was for me in wrestling. Ideally, I have a lot of unfinished business still, and it hasn't been easy having to pull myself back and focus on my health and get myself out of that competitive mindset and just get myself healthy so that I have another opportunity to do something if I want. And whether that is, the Wyatt Ended podcast asked the same thing. And for the first year and a half, it was like, I wouldn't want to go back. I wouldn't want to go back. If the situation was right. And especially with everything I got going on and would feed me more nutrition, it would be of a huge benefit to go back. And I got my PO box, and I get fan mail every single week, and it has not slowed down in being off of TV for over 2 years.
That's big.
And that's been the hardest thing, from getting kids, not only kids and adults, that we wish you'd come back. We wish you would come back. We wish you would come back. At first, when I would read that, I'd get really mad, because I felt like they were being selfish, that they don't understand, because I was in such physical pain. But now that I'm not in pain anymore and I actually feel good, I understand how important it is to other people, because let's be honest, life can suck for a lot of people. And TV and wrestling is a form of entertainment to escape life. And I understand the importance of that. And now that I'm not in much pain, I look at it a little more openly now. And being away from that and getting out of it and being able to enjoy home, I now can look at it and say, well, maybe I can do a year, see how it goes, see how I feel. I know what I did that hurt myself. And, and for me, there's no higher level than WWE.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do this, if you're going to tear your body apart, why wouldn't you want to do it and make the most amount of money and whatnot? And that's where I walked away. I was never fired. Anything like that. I had to leave, obviously, because of health reasons and other creative and whatnot. And I would ultimately, that would be the ideal place from a career move for me to go. But Impact Wrestling, I think, is really, really impressive as of late. And I no doubt know that I could help that company tremendously if that is an option in 2019 when the time comes. But like I said, it's not even been a thought up until, because I know physically where I need to be able to be the quote unquote the big guy Ryback that I need to be. So it'll be somewhere big though when I do decide.
I don't doubt it. The last question I want to ask you here, kind of wrap it all up, bringing the pro wrestling world back into the fitness and nutrition world, is traveling that many days on the road. We have a lot of people that are listening to this podcast who work on the road for their 9-to-5 jobs. And this is for even people who travel for vacations, even trying to maintain a proper diet on the road for a week is one thing. Trying to maintain a proper diet being on the road 52 weeks of the year, as you were, and as you may end up again back in coming up in 2019, like catering in WWE is fantastic. And you probably can store as much as you want, but how did you, and I think this is such a fascinating topic, talking with guys like Eric Rowan and guys like Arya Davari, who's a good buddy of mine. They're up there now. But I want, for our listening audience, can you explain to these guys and gals listening how difficult it is and how you went about trying to maintain proper nutrition while on the road as long as you were?
Yeah, no, I actually thought it was really easy.
Really?
It's especially now. Now I'm a big believer now in intermittent fasting. I do the 16-8, where I eat for 8 hours and I don't eat for 16, and I'm back up. I've been back up. I got up over 290 again for the first time in 2 years doing intermittent fasting, believe it or not. And I eat a lot more in the 8 hours, and I switched from a keto diet back to carbs because I process carbs really well. I don't do well on the keto diet because I don't process fatty meats really well. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that through trial and error. But it was, you just get it. So I traveled alone, man. So that was one of the things I realized, that early on when I traveled with other guys, everybody has different eating habits. Yeah. And so the more guys you have in your car, the more time that is wasted on trying to agree on trying to find food places. Sure. And you got to go to places that you don't want to go sometimes because 2 or 3 of the guys in the car might want to go to fucking Panera Bread and you don't want to go there.
Right. Yeah.
So I learned early on, I was like, I'm just going to start traveling by myself because, and then again, I've talked about, I like to listen to audiobooks and do that on the car rides and get a free education on the road and whatnot. But it was also because I was able to make my own food choices. And you get up in the morning, you find a Bob Evans, you find an IHOP, you find a Denny's, and you just pick healthy foods. And then again, you bring your protein supplements on the road and your BCAAs, and catering at WWE is top notch on TV days, morning to night. You can eat healthy, and they have a wide selection of food. They have junk there also, but they always have grilled chicken. They always have lean fish. They always have fillets or some sort of steak. There's ways to eat healthy while you're there. It's usually for people, I think, the late night on the drives.
Yeah. And
again, fast food restaurants. Again, if you have to eat McDonald's and, grilled chicken salad, or, going to a gas station and getting a bag or two of Sun Chips and then going and getting grilled chicken at McDonald's and just making the most of what you can, or getting the hard-boiled eggs at the gas station and just eating the egg whites and getting one of the protein shakes there. And just, it's not hard. I think the people that say it's hard just make excuses.
You figure it out quick. Or else. I mean, did you have it in your contract that you
really quick up there?
Did you have it in your contract? I know, talking to guys like Ken Anderson, who was back with WWE back in the day, like it was in his contract that he had to maintain a physical appearance. Was that in your contract that you had to maintain a muscular physical appearance?
That's standard. No, so nothing is. That's standard in pretty much any contract. That it's up to the talent to train and take care of themselves and be in shape and whatnot. That is just expected.
Gotcha.
That's what being a professional. You're just expected to always be in shape. And a lot of that was more conditioning wise. I always took it.
Sure.
More than anything, being in ring shape essentially. So,
that is
in the contract. It is part and it is in there in some verbiage to some degree on that.
If there's any independent wrestlers listening to this podcast, like listen to what he just said. Like as a pro wrestler, it's your duty to maintain your body. I see too much sloppy stuff out there, and some are sloppy, but they have ring shape maybe per se, or maybe it's their character. But but if it's not, which I would say vast majority it's not, like take care of yourselves, or at least figure it out before you get back in the ring and show it some respect. That's my 2 cents on it.
I want to touch on that. By the way,
go ahead.
So, that's one thing that I think is extremely important. That's one thing. Not everybody has to look like with a six-pack.
No.
I don't care about that. I think, though, so pro wrestling is the illusion of a real fight.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody was going to be in a real fight and knew they were going to be training to be in a real fight, they would bust their ass and they would make sure that they were in the best physical condition. Most would, maybe not everyone, but most would, so that they don't go out there and get killed.
Exactly.
Or get impaired.
Yeah.
So that, to me, should be in every pro wrestler's mind. Now, I don't care. And you look at a fighter like Daniel Cormier, DC, and like he doesn't have the most shredded body or anything, but he is an absolute beast and an animal. And that some people just have higher body fat than other guys,
right?
And whatnot. Like that's cool, but like to not focus on health and weight training at all, to me is just kind of, what are you doing? It's not. I just don't see it. That to me was never professional wrestling. Like I said, I like, you could be 400 pounds, but as long as you try to be physically, in ring shape and you work out and take care of yourself and live a healthy lifestyle, it is what it is. You look how you look. There's a lot that don't have that mindset.
No, I mean, and with you coming back to the independent scene, you probably have some shows that are obviously better than others, but you've probably been on a couple of shows where you've seen some of those people in which that could use a couple of words of advice or some encouragement to get to the gym and take care of themselves. At least I've seen a plethora of it when I was active on the scene. Feedmemore.com, the official website, got a brand new website. It's going to be launched shortly, which will be awesome. Your products are available there for purchase on the website. Also, Amazon.com, if you're a big Amazon person, especially when they do over $4 billion on Prime Day and your stuff is available there. It's not a bad spot to be whatsoever. The big guy, Ryback 22 on Instagram. Is it at Feed Me More?
For the Instagram, it's at Feed Me More Nutrition.
Okay.
For the Feed Me More Instagram. And that's the big guy, Ryback 22, for my Instagram that has Feed Me More Nutrition on it.
Yeah, and your podcast is on iTunes, right?
Yep.
The Conversation with the Big Guy. It's on iTunes. You're probably on the Android platform, so Google Play Store, Stitcher.
Also, all that
stuff. Dude, this has been good. It's been good to catch up with you. Like I told the story to people before. I actually spent some time with you in the locker room when I got brought down to Des Moines in Minneapolis. You were nothing but a genuine human being, which I appreciated. You still are. We're here to support you, your brand, any way we possibly can. We wish you the best of luck. Keep killing it. Keep taking care of yourself. Hope the stem cell stuff goes well. And if we see you on TV in 2019, looking forward to it. But the biggest thing is, like, tuck your chin and take care of yourself. We don't need you getting hurt again.
Absolutely. No, thank you for having me. And it's been great to catch back up. So thank you.
What makes a great athlete? Is it in the intense mental and physical training? Is it hitting the game-winning shot? Is it scoring the go-ahead goal? Is it the countless hours of practicing when the cameras aren't on and no one is watching? Everyone is their own athlete. What makes you great is your preparation and determination to reach your goals. Your body is fueled by your desire and quest to push beyond limits. Define your inner great athlete with the Clinical Edge series.
Guys, we hope that you had a chance to engage with that podcast, take a few things away. Even if you weren't a pro wrestling fan, I think there's a lot of things that you could learn from Ryback, his life on the road. We've all traveled. We've all taken road trips. We understand how difficult it is to maintain a consistent diet while on the road. But he himself, from a guy who did it 265 plus days a year in and out of a hotel room and rental cars, was able to do it. So we out here can do it too. I hope you enjoyed everything about that podcast. I hope you enjoyed the information from Shane. In 2 weeks, we have 4-time World's Strongest Man Brian Shaw coming on. Super stoked about that. Make sure you do us a favor. Go to our website, fitnessinformant.com, to stay up to date with all the new reviews. We just posted 5 more this week. Our 8-week, $8,000 transformation challenge comes to an end here in 2 weeks. So a huge thank you to the sponsors, Spire Nutrition, NutriBio Labs, MTS Nutrition, Blackstone Labs, and Redcon One, as well as Nutrex Research for helping us out with the $8,000 8-week transformation challenge. Everybody who has participated in this has killed it, has done a phenomenal job. You've inspired me to be better, and I have, so thank you for that. There will be a link that will get sent out to you all here shortly. That way you can submit your after photo, and then myself and the sponsors will go through the list and pick a male and a female winner of each winning $4,000 in sports nutrition supplements, gift card swag, and more. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and more. Do us a huge solid tune and review us. Give us a rating and review. Feedback that you have on the podcast. Trying my best to provide good content for you all out there, and that way you can get some information, apply it to your lives, and live a more fit, healthy lifestyle. Again, we're on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Fitnessinformant.com is the place to go. Our YouTube channel, obviously, for all the podcasts and updated supplement reviews. I'm fitnessinformant.com president. I want to thank you again for tuning in, checking out episode 9, episode 10, 2 weeks. Brian Shaw, 4 times World's Strongest Man. Until next time, take this information, apply it any way or shape or form you can, clang and bang in the gym, and live fit.